Anyone heard of this name?
Yeah, I heard. Here.
You heard this name?
Yeah.
Ayman.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Mother of
Huh?
Mama.
Yes, it means the mother of Ayman.
Yeah.
But this is a very blessed name that belongs to a very blessed woman. Ayman is someone who was, you can say, who was the nanny of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She basically raised the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he was a baby, when he was a child. She was always there, taking care of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to place her in the place of a mother. He used to treat her like a mother. He used to respect her like a mother. And he used to honor her like a mother. And Ayman radiyallahu anha, she was a woman of dark skin. Perhaps she was originally from Africa. Her name was Baraka bint Tha'laba. And she was a slave to the father of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abdullah. So when Abdullah passed away, and he was only 24, 25 years old when he passed away in Madinatul Munawwara, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's father is buried in Medina as well. Subhanallah, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's beloved mother is not, Amina is not very too far from Medina. She's only about 50, 60 kilometers from Medina. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's beloved father is buried in Medina. His resting place is in Medina. And the natives of Medina know his grave as well. I had the honor of visiting his grave as well. And the Prophet ﷺ finally arrived in Medina as well. He was destined to be there. He was destined to be in that same blessed land. The city called the most blessed city, the pure city, the city of light, Al-Madinatul Munawwara. So when Abdullah passed away, he left behind some heritage. It was not too much, but whatever he left behind in that possession, there was also this woman called Ayman who was owned by Abdullah. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the only child. There was no other sibling of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So everything that Abdullah had left behind automatically came to his wife Amina and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They were the only two heirs of Abdullah. So Ayman became a slave of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam through inheritance, through the law of inheritance that was in application at that time. Later on, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam got married to Khadija radiyallahu anha, he set her free. So now she became Mawla of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Mawla means someone who's freed by someone. So now that person is called Mawla, the one who's set free. So she became Mawla of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and she continued to care for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Later on, she got married to the adopted son of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Zayd bin Haritha, and she gave birth to the adopted grandson of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Usama bin Zayd radiyallahu anhu. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam loved both of them very, very much. He loved Zayd bin Haritha so much, like his own son, and he loved Usama bin Zayd radiyallahu anhu just as much as he loved Zayd bin Haritha. So there's a hadith that talks about an incident between Umar radiyallahu anhu and Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu, and this happened a few days after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away. Only a few days later, everyone was still fresh from the mourning, from the loss of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from the separation that took place between the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and all the Sahaba. So everyone was still grieving and everyone was still sad. But of course, the life has to move on. The whole idea is that life doesn't stop. The life has to move on. This is how Allah has planned everything. So life has to move on. So Abu Bakr radiyallahu anh became Khalifa. Umar radiyallahu anh was the closest advisor to Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, and these two were the senior most companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Not in age, because in age there were others who were more senior than Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, Umar radiallahu anh, but in being close to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, these two were the senior most, and they were also in leadership. So one day Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, he calls Umar radiallahu anh, and he says, انطلق بنا نزور أم أيمن رضي الله عنها كما كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يزورها. They were feeling that connection, loss of that connection with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when you love someone so much, you try to go to places that your beloved used to go to. You try to visit the people that your beloved used to visit. In your love for them, in your love for your most beloved. So they loved the Prophet ﷺ so much. They said, Abu Bakr radiallahu anh says to Umar radiallahu anh, "Oh Umar, let's go visit Ummi Ayman as Rasulullah ﷺ in his life used to visit her. Let's do that. Why don't we go and visit her just like the Prophet ﷺ used to visit her?" So they entered her house in Medina, and she was crying. She could not stop her crying for the loss of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She loved him like her own child, her own son, and she literally raised the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when they sat with her, Abu Bakr radiallahu anh and Umar radiallahu anh both asked her, "Ma yubkiki? Why are you crying? Don't you know that what Allah has for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is better than this life, is better than this world? So Allah has brought the Prophet ﷺ to something that is better for him, which is akhirah. So aren't you happy with that? You're still crying." Not that they were not sad anymore. They were still sad, but they were trying to help her move on as well. She said, "Of course I know that what Allah has for the Prophet ﷺ is better than this world, better than this life, better than everything. And that's something that I know very well. But I'm crying because the connection that we had from Allah to this world through revelation, that has stopped. So we've lost that connection of revelation from Allah to this world. Allah was only speaking to the people of this world through the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And now He took the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, He's not going to speak to us anymore. I'm crying because of that. Subhanallah. How wise she was, how intelligent she was, and how caring and loving she was. You can look at her life from any angle, and you will find her among the most intelligent women in the world. And when she said that, guess what happened? They both started crying too. These two men were among the strongest men in the world. After the Prophet ﷺ, no one was stronger emotionally than Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. And after him, no one was stronger emotionally than Umar radiallahu anh. They broke down. They couldn't control their tears anymore. And they started crying. Now all three of them were crying. Now the reason why I share this with you, because this, with one story alone, has so many important lessons for us. First, we should try to understand why it is important to maintain something that your elders were doing, something good that your elders were doing. For example, your father who may have passed away, or your mother or your grandfather who may have passed away, they used to visit certain friend every once in a while. You should continue that. If their friend is alive, don't abandon them. The Prophet ﷺ actually said in one hadith that one of the ways in which you can continue to do good to your parents is by continuing to do good to their friends after them. After they leave from this world, continue to do good to them. And if they were doing something good, you continue doing that good on their behalf, even after they have left. This is something that doesn't look something major, but this is the sunnah that we learn from our beloved Prophet ﷺ and from his beloved companions. He used to visit her, and then after him, these two companions visited her as well, because they saw their most beloved Rasulullah ﷺ visit her as well. So there's a lot of reward for visiting someone for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Prophet ﷺ used to visit her, of course, because he had that connection for the sake of Allah with her, and he used to visit her every now and then. And how blessed and special she was getting visits from the Prophet ﷺ. It's not something small to be visited by the Prophet ﷺ on a regular basis. So she's one of the most blessed and most fortunate women that she used to get that visit from the Prophet ﷺ. So in your parents, in your elders, if you see something good that they are doing, when they leave from this world, you don't have to cut that off. You can continue doing that, and that is their legacy. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.